Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and today we are gonna be comparing my boy Cody, his Street Fighter 4 version and his Street Fighter 5 version to find out which one was the best or the most fun. So let's get started. So let's first start with the Street Fighter 4 version of Cody, because I suspect that maybe some of our viewers may not be very familiar with how he functions. Cody in Street Fighter 4 was based on his Alpha 3 version. So he really had a slow walk speed, but he had a lot of forward moving attacks. Forward heavy kick was kind of like a guile saw bat, and you could combo after it, so that was pretty sick. He had this forward medium punch, and this forward medium punch was actually plus on block. And you can naturally combo it into his crouching light kick. And this crouching light kick, this was a 3-frame light, by the way. It's like, imagine if they gave him a 3-frame light with this kind of range, and it was cancelable. So like, that was crazy. So anyways, you could just bully your opponent in the neutral with this forward medium punch like that, and hit confirm into the crouching light kick. He had this really annoying slide. And this slide was very good versus characters like Bison, because it would beat his scissors. He had the forward heavy punch. This was an overhead, double hitting, so that was actually pretty nice versus focus. And he did have a lot of range in his Ruffian kicks. These and Zonks are the only returning specials he had. If you notice, the light kick Ruffian had a ton of range. Medium kick and heavy kick Ruffian have about the same range they have in Street Fighter 5. Now, the EX Ruffian was pretty different though. In Street Fighter 4, EX Ruffian comboed from lights. Obviously, in 5, you had to do either medium kick Ruffian or EX Zonk to get a combo out of light attacks. But here, you could get the hard knockdown out of the EX Ruffian. So that was pretty amazing. And check this out, if you don't know about it, it would go under Fireball. So that was actually pretty amazing, from really far range as well. Right. So Cody had really strong anti-fireball answers. Zonks also were in Street Fighter 4, but they were completely different. In Street Fighter 4, he also had charge level to Zonks, like he do in Street Fighter 5. But the functionality of the Zonks themselves are very, very different. Notice here that the Zonks sends the opponent flying away. It doesn't cause a grounded reset like they do in Street Fighter 5. But the thing about them here is that they are pretty similar, I would say, to a bullhorn from Birdie. So, for example, if we use throwing fireballs, we will just use the Zonk to go through them. That was pretty much the main usage of Zonks in 4. It was actually really, really nice. EX Zonk was fully invincible. So this was like a true wake-up reversal. And the good things about it is that if you happen to land it, you can FADC and then combo into Criminal Upper if you want. You can even FADC and combo into Ultra 1, right? So that was actually a really cool juggle. So there was a lot of potential that you can actually get out of this. And obviously out of it as well, you could have like did it and then did the forward heavy kick into the next criminal upper. So it was like a wake-up reversal that you can use to convert into a lot of damage. Obviously, if your opponent knocked, the game had FADC, so you can just focus, attack, dash backward, and be safe. So EX Zonk was ridiculous in Street Fighter 4. Now he also had a projectile, but it was completely different. He had the rocks, and this was the light, the medium, the heavy. They would go different distances. One of the cool things about them is that you can just hold the button, and Cody will hold on to the rock for a little while before throwing it out. And one of the absolute most fun things about them is that if you press down and heavy punch and heavy kick, Cody would actually just feint a rock toss. This was amazing because the rocks had a lot of startup but a really short recovery. So maybe, for example, your opponent is trying to find a pattern and you just feint them and then anti-air with your heavy kick or back medium punch. These were really sick anti-airs. The EX rocks, these were insane. Like, they were insane actually. They were really plus on block, and if you happen to land them, you could just combo whatever you want after it. Notice like you can even combo a medium here, you can even combo a heavy after them. That were actually pretty ridiculous, and you can even combo an ultra 2, right? And as a matter of fact, that was like kind of one of the main ways that you would combo into his Ultra too. You would pretty much, in Street Fighter 4, Cody was a frame trap monster. He was blossom block on so many things. So one of the situations that you wanted to get was doing crouching heavy punch, and if this happened to land as a counter hit, it combos into his EX rocks, and then you would get the Ultra too, right? That was a really good way to combo into this Ultra. And that will, as you can see, that would actually lead to a ton of damage. That was a very good combo rule. And because he had a lot of blossom block moves like forward medium punch, standing medium punch, it wasn't that difficult to get into that situation. And obviously Street Fighter 4 had crouch ticking, everybody was mashing anyway, so that was kind of, different talks for a different day. Now let's talk first a little bit about his ultras or his supers. The first one he had was the Drop Dead Irony. This wasn't used that much, I would say, because he had really cool normal or EX moves, I would say. He also had the Criminal Upper. I forgot to talk about this. And how could I forget about the Criminal Upper? Criminal Upper was pretty much a combo ender, but it was the coolest looking attack, right? The Tornado itself would actually negate fireballs. So like if Ryu is here gonna try to throw a fireball at us, let's do it again. Right, it would clash with the fireballs, but you wouldn't really use it like that. It was mostly used as a combo tool for the most part, right? And EX Upper, this was actually invincible, right? This had strike invincibility, so you could kinda use it in like versus. You could kinda use it as a pseudo reversal, I would say. And obviously, it did a lot of damage. Was really fast. Was really good in juggles as well, right? Very useful and stuff like that. Did a lot of stun. So it was a pretty cool attack. And finally, let's talk about his ultras. The first one was the Final Destruction. This is pretty much a short range punch that if it lands, Cody will transition into the animation. And you could easily kinda combo into it if you happen to land a Heavy Kick Ruffian, because you could Heavy Kick Ruffian FADC and then land it. Obviously here you could get an external upper. But here is the combo pretty much. Or you could do it as you saw earlier out of the EX zone. This were like the two main routes, right? And the second ultra was the Lost Dread Dust. Now this ultra had a lot of issues like the one you just seen. Sometimes the sand would hit, but then the follow-up range attacks wouldn't. Ideally you wanted to use this ultra as a utility one. So for example, if Ryu is throwing fireballs, you would use this like that to just go through fireballs and then get to punish him. That was pretty much the main use of it. And you could combo into it in very specific situations, especially on counter hit or grounded counter hit, I would say. Like for example, if you happen to land a standing medium punch up close, like this was actually a combo, right? That was actually pretty awesome. And like I showed you before, you could do stuff like doing crouching heavy punch into the EX rocks, and then you get to combo the ultra, and that was pretty cool. Now one of the really interesting things about Cody in Street Fighter 4 is that he had the knife as well, right? And as you saw, the knife would be in the middle of the stage, and you would have to manually pick it up, kind of like Vega's old claw. And his knife normals were actually ridiculous. If your opponent was blocking, notice that the knife would do chip damage, right? All different versions of the knife attacks would do chip damage. Notice that they had insane range and pushback, but unfortunately one of the sad things about the knife was that if you happen to get hit at all, you would lose it, right? And then you'd have to re-pick it up again. And obviously you couldn't fireball when you have the knife, Cody would just throw it. So let's now check out the Street Fighter 5 version of Cody, and he is based on his Final Fight counterpart, and not really the Alpha 3 version, and that's why he is completely redesigned gameplay wise. And you can see the Final Fight influence all over his design. First of all, from the walk animation, this is how he walked in Final Fight. The back throw, this is the same throw he had. Obviously the target combo, this is very beat 'em up-esque. The jumping target combo of medium kick, light kick, again the same thing he had before. Standing medium punch, this was an attack in Final Fight as well. Standing heavy punch was also an attack in Final Fight. Obviously there is the V skill, which was his invincible attack there. It would cost him actually grey health, so that's kind of the same thing. He would also lose HP in final fight for using it. And obviously there is the idea of the knife and the pipe, which were power-up items that you would pick up in final fight. So he's very faithful to his final fight counterpart. And one of the cool things is that even the tornado sweep, like his fireballs, this is not a new attack. I wanna say he had this in the Game Boy version of Final Fight. I'm pretty sure it was one of the handheld versions where they actually gave him this fireball, the tornado sweep. So it's actually pretty cool that they gave it to him back as a projectile in Street Fighter V. Now gameplay wise, he's completely different. Obviously he doesn't have the criminal upper anymore, and he doesn't have the rocks anymore. And instead of zoning with the rocks, Cody now have a more standard fireball with the light, medium and heavy tornado sweep, and obviously the EX1. Tornado sweep is an interesting projectile. I mean, it doesn't offer as much of a dynamic zoning potential as the rocks because you can't really feint with it, but it is mostly used for other gameplay purposes. The main use for the tornado sweep, aside from light zoning, is just controlling the screen, and it's mostly gonna be used for just filling the screen with a hitbox, so you can then follow up with an EX zonk, right? Like that is typically how, like you wanna pin down the opponent at a certain point. So like for example, if Ryu here is blocking, I just wanna get him pinned down a little bit, so then I can use the EX zonk to approach. That is pretty much the main uses of the tornado sweep for Cody in Street Fighter V. Now obviously he still had the slides, but these function kind of the same way as they did in Street Fighter V. The EX version obviously here is a launcher though, this doesn't go through projectiles anymore. He still had a really good buffer game. Obviously in Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, you would buffer a lot of like medium bunches and light bunches into ruffians, and that's pretty much still intact. Actually one of his best qualities in Street Fighter 5, so that's actually pretty nice. The knife here came back as a V-trigger, and it's obviously completely different. Here they give him the rapid slash, which is like a new special move. Here if Cody gets hit, he doesn't lose the knife, instead it is on a timer, and it changes all of his normals completely. This was pretty much the same as how it was in Street Fighter 4, so that is actually pretty interesting. And again, he can throw the knife, so that's pretty fun. And obviously new to this game is that they give him the pipe and the sway. The sway isn't actually completely new. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, Cody had the sway as well. And the sway is pretty much there to fulfill the role of the old zonk. So the idea previously is that you could use the zonk to go through fireballs, while now you pretty much use the sway to fulfill the same purpose. So while he doesn't have access to the zonks the way they used to, it now is, this functionality have kind of been moved over to the sway. And the zonks now are completely different. They're pretty much a dash punch style attack, and they will leave the opponent in a state where they are in front of your face and you are plus on block, or you have plus frames, and then you get to throw or mix up your opponent. And obviously EX zonk is amazing for knockdowns. It became an unga bunga, let's just use a tool. Obviously it was fully invincible. It was kinda unga in Street Fighter 4 as well, to be honest, because you could get heavy rewards out of it as an invincible reversal. But it is full unga now in Street Fighter 5. And obviously finally they gave him the V-Trigger 2. And his V-Trigger 2 is actually a really interesting tool. It gives Cody a lot of interesting attacks. He gets back his rocks, but he loses the fireballs. And obviously the rocks here are different than they were in 4, because like you can toss them upward with a swing, or you can toss them straight at your opponent. Obviously you can do any attack into the swings, and they gave him the command grab, which he can then obviously do a lot of set play after. And his normals pretty much become like this is the exact same attack that he had in Final Fight, by the way. Gets a new crush counter, and the crouching heavy punch is a really good attack to catch forward movement. Cody in Street Fighter V is completely different. He is a lot of fun. Now the thing about Cody in 5, to be honest, is that before having access to the sway, I personally was more of a fan of the Street Fighter 4 version. Street Fighter 4 version of Cody had a lot of tools to play with. but the sway made Cody a lot more dynamic in 5. It's like such a really good attack that you can use in general, opens up a lot of possibilities and a lot of plays that you can use. And obviously once you get to activate V-Trigger, I will say, to be honest, Cody in V-Trigger 2 is the most fun version of Cody. Out of 4-5 cross-Tekken, Cody in V-Trigger 2 for me is the most fun that he have been. And that is pretty much it for Cody. Let me know which one of them is your favorite. If I had to rank them, I will say V-Trigger 2 Cody, Street Fighter 4 Cody, V-Trigger 1 Cody, and then regular Cody. This is my ranking for them, but they're all still really fun, and obviously he is still my favorite character. Let me know which characters you would love to see next. I've seen a lot of players, or a lot of our viewers mention Juri, so maybe Juri will be the next episode. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. It helps the channel so much. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page and the Discord server page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.